Windows 1. Windows 1.0 was Microsoft's first graphical operating system that's released in 1985. So it was created because back then, people actually had to type commands on an operating system called the MS-DOS just to open a program on their computers. But it was just too difficult and bothersome to do. That's why Microsoft created Windows 1.0 that runs on top of that MS-DOS system to make everything graphical. So people can now open a program by easily clicking the icons instead of having to type command prompts. That time, the programs on Windows were still light and simple, such as Calculator, Paint, and the Reversi game. Also, the interface was still locked in tile mode, meaning that we can't make it overlap like today's Windows interface, and it doesn't have the minimize or maximize button either. And despite being light and simple, this Windows version often had some errors and experienced blue screen of death while producing weird letters and sounds. Another problem is that people needed a mouse since they needed to click the icons. But at that time, a mouse was not common like today yet, especially since people only needed a keyboard to type command prompt on MS-DOS anyway. Windows 2. Windows 2.0 was released in 1987 as an upgrade of Windows 1.0. So this time, the windows can actually overlap instead of being locked side by side. And this feature was very useful because programs such as Microsoft Word and Excel showed up in the era of Windows 2. So office workers could multitask better, like they can type in Microsoft Word while checking some numbers in the overlapping Excel at the same time. But later on, Apple sued Microsoft. They claimed that the overlapping Windows design copied the Macintosh interface. But the good thing is, Microsoft won the case because in the past, Apple actually asked Microsoft to help make Word and Excel for the Macintosh computers. And since they worked closely together, Microsoft was allowed to use some of Apple's interface ideas for Windows. But later on, when Windows started becoming more successful, Apple suddenly sued Microsoft for copying their design. That's why the judge allowed Microsoft to keep this overlapping design to this day. Windows 3. Windows 3.0 was released in 1990, and it was the first version that really made Windows popular. The reason why it became popular was because it introduced a full-color graphical interface that looked much cleaner and better than the previous version. Also, since that time, computers used Intel 386 processor, which was a newer and more powerful processor in that era. This time, Windows could run heavier programs like CorelDRAW and also open more software at the same time. 2 years later, Windows 3.1 was released and it introduced the drag and drop feature. So instead of copying or transferring a file using a certain shortcut, this time people can simply drag and drop the file. And since this feature made a computer easier to operate, not only offices and companies used Windows, but now even regular people started getting their own personal computers as well. Windows 95. Windows 95 was released in 1995 and considered to be the first Windows with